we got to talk about the Eagles winning the Super Bowl, what this means for y'all folks who don't want to give Jalen Hurts the credit that he deserves. Hey, we going to talk to y'all today. And what does this mean for the Brady versus Mahomes GOAT discussion? Because all the people that were like me way far over Mahomes, now all of a sudden, oh, you never. Prisoners of the moment. I'll explain to you what's going on there. And we got to talk about the halftime show with Kendrick Lamar, the Drake diss, everything in between, and so much more revolving all of this stuff. Make sure that you like, subscribe, get notifications. Most importantly, tell a friend about Unafraid Show. So much popping. Let's get to it. So let's start with the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. This is their third Super Bowl appearance since 2017 and their second win. And this is a franchise that for the first, 50 some odd years, they didn't even win a Super Bowl. And now they got in 2 and 8 years. Incredible. Jeffrey Lurie and that whole crew's running a first class organization. And we're going to discuss all of that. But first thing I want to talk about is that score bug, that new score bug that Fox implemented, where it's not like a true box. It's just, the score and the teams floating out in space. Initially, I was like, yo, I hated it. I wanted them to throw it in the trash. But then there's also a bit of innovation that's initially uncomfortable. And as the game went on, I was like, this ain't really as bad as I thought it was, because it actually allowed us as fans to have more space on the television. So, like, less of our view was actually obstructed with the way that they did it. So initially I hated it. And you guys can jump in the comments. Tell me if you liked the new score bug, if you hated the score bug. Either way, let me know, because I initially hated it, but as the game grew on, I was like, hold up. This is the sort of change. This ain't RoboDuck change. This is, where they make something weird going on. Nah, this could actually be better. And I understood it and I get it. And I actually hope it's here to stay. I think that it's better than a lot of people think, because it gives us, the viewer, more space. But let's get to the game though. If you had if you said, George, give me 5 different outcomes for this game, what happened in this game, 24 nothing, would not have been one of them. This game gave me Rose Bowl, Ohio State versus Oregon vibes, except Oregon at least fought back, right? And the difference was, I mean, it was the same thing. It was literally like watching a carbon copy of those two games. So Ohio State, really good team. Philadelphia Eagles, really good team. Defense, spectacular defense versus spectacular defense, but Ohio State, Philadelphia. And they jumped on the Chiefs. The Eagles jumped on the Chiefs just like Ohio State jumped on Oregon. And the same problem. No offense. No offense to speak of, and you can put it on. And here's where it's a little bit different. Where Oregon's offense had been great all year, the Chiefs' offense all year had not been spectacular. They didn't score 30 points for the first time until they played against the Buffalo Bills in the AFC Championship. That's the first time all year. So their offense had been mid all year, but you just thought Patrick Mahomes, his whole crew, they're going to be able to get it done. But they couldn't, and it is not because of anything but the Eagles defense. They were able, this is something that, if you're learning football or football, then you understand. And just in case you're wondering, yes, I'm wearing all black today because it's a funeral. It's a funeral because the Kansas City Chiefs lost, because I was predicting them to win. I wanted this three-peat. I wanted it. I needed it. And you people out there that wanted the Kansas City Chiefs to lose, you got your pound of flesh. Are you happy now? Are you happy now that Patrick Mahomes got knocked down a tier, and your no, well, knocked down a tier, but knocked off the shiny pedestal? Where are all the people that were like, oh, the refs are helping them win? Oh, the refs didn't help them win this game. See what happens? Man, stop. Stop it. So you got your pound of flesh. Are you happy now? Well, the Philadelphia Eagles might turn into what you hate the most too. But here is the thing. They did something that in football, if you can do, you will win more games than you have not. That is rushing forward. No blitzing linebackers, no blitzing safeties, none of that. If you can rush forward and affect the quarterback, put pressure on the quarterback, hit him, knock him around, you are going to get good results. And Patrick Mahomes was literally uh like frantic. He looked exactly like Tom Brady did against the Giants both times, where he couldn't get anything going really offensively. They made tries, they might. The defense, Michael Strahan, Osi Umenyiora, and the rest of that crew, Justin Tuck in the backfield all the time, making life difficult. And this just shows that no matter how great you are, whether you're Tom Brady, whether you're Patrick Mahomes, you get pressure on you, you are going to lose football games. Your quarterback is going to miss throws. He's going to get hit. Interceptions are going to happen and everything else. And this just go to show you that the Philadelphia Eagles are one of the best run organizations in all of sports. They have a method for negotiating with players with deals. You don't want to live inside of this little bit of box, then Hassan Reddick, yeah, let's ship you up out of here then. You want out? Listen, you want out, you can have out. We will reward the players that need to be rewarded. And yes, there will be some difficult decisions made, but most importantly, they do not miss with their first round draft picks. They have done an excellent job. Yes, they went and drafted the whole damn Georgia team from they're one of the greatest defenses in college football history. But the reality is that the Eagles have built a good culture. Nick Sirianni has done a good job. The same guy that people were calling on getting fired last year. Fantastic job. But this boils down to like this wasn't an Andy Reid problem. This wasn't really even a Patrick Mahomes problem. This wasn't any of that. They were up against a buzzsaw. Philadelphia was ready. They were prepared. And then on Kansas City side, I do believe that there was a level of fatigue. And granted, I'm not taking anything away from the Eagles. There was a level of fatigue that transpired in this game, in the build up to it. Dude, they've been to three straight Super Bowls, and people don't understand what that means. So the majority of the league got finished playing right after New Year's. So they've had a month off. They are refreshed, recharged. They've been going on vacation with their families. They've been hanging out. They've been going to the Pro Bowl. They just been doing whatever takes their mind off of football. And they'll start working out again a little bit here in the next week, right? So what has happened to the Chiefs the last couple years is so they win the Super Bowl, and whether you are Patrick Mahomes or whether you're the 52nd guy on the roster, everybody is going to have media obligations and opportunities. But your core players, your best players, they're going to be working well into March, doing a Tonight Show, doing this podcast, that podcast, going to Disneyland, uh, all the other fantastic things that make money that come along with winning a Super Bowl. So now you haven't even had a chance to rest, relax, and recuperate until about the end of March, beginning of April. And then on top of that, then that's when it's time to start training and ramping up heavily for the next season. So you never really get that time off, and it just wore on the Chiefs and it laid on them, and that's just the reality of it. But this Philadelphia Eagles team, we got to give credit to Jalen Hurts. Y'all got to stop this Jalen Hurts slander. I have heard everything. Oh man, see, no matter if he wins or not, he'll never beat Brady. He'll never be as good as in the same class as Burrow, as Josh Allen, as Lamar Jackson, as Tua, and any of these guys. Well, does he even really want to be in that class? Because from that whole class of guys, Herbert, all them guys I named, one Super Bowl appearance. You know how many Jalen Hurts got? 2. You know how many rings Jalen Hurts has? 1. All of them dudes combined, accolades in terms of accomplishment, don't amount to what to what Jalen Hurts has done. I know because this is where narratives matter. This Jalen Hurts is the same guy that was at Alabama, got benched in the national championship versus versus Georgia for Tua. Tua comes in. Jalen Hurts rides the bench for a year, plays the good soldier, transfers to Oklahoma, finishes second in the Heisman Trophy race, gets drafted, not in the first round, but in the second round by the Philadelphia Eagles. He's behind a guy who appears to be a MVP candidate and a franchise quarterback in Carson Wentz. So he's going to be forgotten about. Oh, well, not so fast, my friend. He comes in, does a little something. All right. Okay, well, he'll be our starter for next year, maybe. Has a decent year. You're like, oh, okay, maybe. Then that third year, you're like, oh, damn. Huh, we got us a guy. We in the Super Bowl. So, and then he gets paid. And then it's, oh man, see, he can't throw like that. He's a good face of the franchise, great leader, great all those things. But here's the thing I want to point out to you guys is that people will talk about his throwing ability. No, does he throw the ball like Joe Burrow? Is he going to throw it 50 times a game? No. Is he going to put up the same stats as Herbert? No. It's like the Skip Bayless. All he does is win thing. Because all that talent and all of that, specialness that we see, how many Super Bowls is that really bringing them dudes? It's not. So maybe this is the Tom Brady factor. That it's not the biggest, it's not the fastest, not the tallest, not the strongest, not the person who can dot an I with the ball every time. Maybe it's the best leader. Maybe it's the guy who can keep his team together when um when you got wide receivers out here trying to be saboteurs to your own team. Maybe that's the thing when AJ Brown is doing his thing and other players on the team are frustrated and you got Kelsey retiring and this and that. Maybe it's the guy who's the great leader that keeps the team together when people are trying to go at the coach. Maybe that's the guy who wins the championships. Maybe it's not, and I'm not saying that those guys, the other guys, aren't necessarily good leaders, but maybe Jalen Hurts is a supreme leader. And they will point to the Philadelphia Eagles roster as a reason why he won and he got a Super Bowl. They had the best roster in this and that. Do you know who wins the Super Bowl every year? A really, really good roster, a very talented roster. That's who wins the Super Bowl every year. Nobody wins the Super Bowl with a mediocre roster and they're like, the quarterback did it all himself. It's impossible. So let's give Jalen Hurts the proper credit and respect that the man deserves for these accolades so early in his career. Think about it. In his first 4 years as a starter versus Patrick Mahomes, we got 45 wins for Hurts, 49 for Mahomes. Playoff appearances, 4-4. Super Bowl appearances, 2-2. Super Bowl wins, 1-1. Oh, damn. Oh, this destroys the narrative. Okay, so he's really just a running back. Really? Are we sure that he's just a running back? The guy who was 17 for 22 for 221 yards and 2 touchdowns? That's the running back? Huh, I can't imagine if he was, if he could actually throw the ball. Come on, man. And then he rushed for another 72 yards and a touchdown as well. No, this dude's a football player. He's a quarterback. And you can tell me that you would trade him for all of these dudes in the world, but you know what? I bet you the Philadelphia Eagles wouldn't trade him for Joe Burrow. I bet you the Philadelphia Eagles wouldn't trade Jalen Hurts for Justin Herbert. Bet you they wouldn't trade him for Tua. Bet you they wouldn't trade him for Trevor Lawrence or even Josh Allen. Bet you they wouldn't. Not that those dudes aren't fantastic, but when you have something that is clearly working, a guy that believes in you, represents you, does all the right things, and wins football games, what are we talking about here? So give the dude his due because his story is outstanding. It is a story of resilience. It is a story of perseverance. It is a where you're like, how does that when he went to Alabama and this? Well, because he had to deal with naysayers, adversity, and everything else. So while I was rooting for Patrick Mahomes and wanted to do to win so he could three-peat, do something Brady hadn't done, I was also at the end of the day pleasantly surprised and excited for Jalen Hurts. I was excited for Saquon Barkley. And this is why the Giants organization, they need to be absolutely, their management needs to be ousted, letting Saquon go. But check this out. If I had told you that Saquon Barkley would have 25 carries for 57 yards, no touchdowns, and what would you had told me? And you'd be like, ooh, Philly may have been in trouble unless Hurts got going. No, if I told you that at one point in time they were up, what was that 27-34? Was it 34 nothing maybe? What what would you have believed me? If I told you that Saquon Barkley essentially was a decoy all game, would you have believed me? No. And it wasn't even that Philadelphia's offense had to be that great. The Chiefs just kept giving them great field position, gave them a pick six. Truly, their defense wasn't that bad. But give the dude his props. But now, next thing that we got to talk about is the Super Bowl halftime. So, the Kendrick Lamar Super Bowl halftime. I knew that overall that this was not going to be well received by the masses because for a few reasons. First thing is, rap without features is difficult for those who do not know the songs, right? If you do not know rap songs, it is difficult to decipher all the lyrics and get the double entendres, get the thing that makes the art so fantastic, right? It is hard to grasp that in the middle of a Super Bowl concert. That's the first thing. So for those who weren't necessarily familiar with Kendrick Lamar outside of Not Like Us, which is, reached the entire world, those who may not have known Humble or the the other major songs like with SZA and all of that. People may not have known that. So it was going to be difficult for them to fully understand it. For people in other cultures and for white folks or Latino folks, Asian folks, or even black folks that aren't a part of hip hop culture, it was going to be difficult for you to understand if you don't understand Kendrick because the history of Super Bowl halftimes, you've had the Princes. Prince has so many popular songs that it's impossible for most of the crowd not to know it and be able to sing along. Same thing with Beyonce, Bruno Mars, even like this is kind of the reverse of like a U2. If you don't listen to U2, you don't really know except for like their biggest hits. And Kendrick's the performance I thought was good. Now it was very very heavy on the Drake diss. Like this was an exclamation point in Sharpie. This is kicking a man when he was down. Like Kendrick was mean for this. So you look at the A that he had on his chain, you wonder, was that for A minor? I mean, I know that it's the same symbol that was on the flag and everything else, but that could have been a double entendre there. He had Serena Williams, who used to date Drake, and Drake did her dirty and talked bad about her husband, called her husband a groupie, Alex Otanian. And then for Serena to be up there, Drake used to allegedly date SZA as well, to have her up there. And then have Samuel Jackson and the entire crowd singing singing that probably A minor and calling him a pedophile and everything else. Bro, Drake can't even top that. This was in front of over 120 million people. What are we talking about? Like, there's no chance that Drake can ever top this. And him litigating and suing and everything else, which Kendrick alluded to in there. it is never going to, like, he can't litigate his reputation back out of this. This is rap. You got to fight your way out, or you got to just let it go, pretend like it never even happened. Those are your options in rap. But overall, though, the show, and I've never been to a Kendrick Lamar concert, but I've talked to a couple people who did, and they were like, the artistry, the way that he normally like puts stuff together is incredible, and the messaging and everything else. So, what do I think about the messaging? I thought it was powerful and double entendric if you look at how he used red and blue and white, and he did it with the flag, right? And where they made the blue part of the flag where the stars are, they had, white, red stripes over here, and it looked like an American flag. The president was in attendance. It felt like a way like, okay, black folks in the United States, right? Because for some reason, people don't think black folks love the United States, when in reality, you love it and you love it here, but you also don't like some of the ways that you're treated. I don't understand how that's any different than people who, feel some sort of way about their rights or they're in this country. It's the same exact situation. They just have different issues. So I thought that was very good to show black people in America, but the red and the blue also symbolized Crips and Bloods, because Kendrick is from Compton. Crips and Bloods have issues with each other, and sometimes Crips and all this stuff. But to show the unity in that felt positive as well. So there was a lot of symbolism in there that I thought was really good. And overall, I do wonder if this sort of performance will change how Super Bowl halftimes are picked, right? Because obviously the Shakiras and all of this, that they're going to play well. And Jay-Z has been a part of choosing the Super Bowl halftime. So with let me see, I almost forgot. The Super Bowl in 2026 is in, okay. Oh, it's actually in Santa Clara. So yeah, so it's here in California, but in the Bay Area. So with Louisiana and where it was last year, you didn't get Lil Wayne and Cash Money and the rest of the crew, and Master P, No Limit, and all that stuff being a part of the halftime show. I do wonder if they will give some credence to the city, in terms of the Bay Area next year when it comes to the Super Bowl, or will they go back mainstream? Will they go with a Taylor Swift if they can get her? If will they go with a SZA? Will they go with somebody who can, a Camila Cabello, or just any artist that can reach sort of the entire masses? So you guys can hop in the comments, tell me what you think about that, how they will choose the next Super Bowl act. And was Kendrick even a good choice? Because you knew it wasn't going to go over. But like the same way with the entire crowd. I mean, there's no way that Jay-Z and the NFL thought that it would. I'm just saying. But he did have the biggest song of the entire year, one of the most streamed songs of all time. So they capitalized on the moment. And for part of the crew and for part of the viewers, it was absolutely amazing. For some of them, they were like, turn the TV off, turn the TV off, because they didn't really know what that meant anyway. All right, next thing that we got to talk about is, all right, what is next for the Kansas City Chiefs? Because this 3 feet Pete felt like they put all the eggs in this basket, and there is going to be a bit of a reloading for next year. Now, if I were them, let's look at the arc of the Kansas City Chiefs with Tyreek Hill and the crew, Kelsey, Mahomes, all of this. This was fast break offense at first. The defense was cool, like they were solid. They weren't exceptional. Last two Super Bowls that they won, the defense was the linchpin between them winning and losing those two Super Bowls. And this year, the offense only scoring 30 points one time all year, and that was in the playoffs. That ain't exactly great offense. Patrick Mahomes' stats are down and all of that. I believe the Chiefs need to repivot towards offense. They got Xavier Worthy, so they got a speedster who went for what, 8 for 157 and 2 touchdowns in the Super Bowl? They got to pivot back to offense. You got a speedy electric wide receiver. You need to add another possession guy that you can just on third down, hey, out route, curl, something. You are going to catch the ball. Like one of the premier pass catchers in the league. They got to get a left tackle because that was struggling. Like this was like the Tampa Super Bowl where they didn't have any pressure. So they're free agents this offseason. They got Trey Smith, who's a guard. They have to re-sign him. Nick Bolton, the linebacker, Justin Reed, Marquise Brown, and they would like Bolton back. He's a pretty good linebacker. The defensive lineman, Omenihu, um, Tershawn Wharton, Kareem Hunt, which they do think that they need to bring Kareem Hunt back. Juju Smith-Schuster, Justin Watson, Mecole Hardman, um, OD Humphrey. I'm sorry, DJ Humphrey, Mike Purnell, Samaji P. Ryan, Josh Uche, Derek Inandi, James Winchester, who's the long snapper, and Carson Wentz. So they really only have about 3 or 4 free agents that they need to re-sign, but then they got to go to the draft. They got to get a left tackle in the draft. They have to improve this defense with younger players, restructure Patrick Mahomes if they want to be in contention again next year. But this team going into the year is going to look more like the Buffalo Bills did this last year, where they clearly made it to the AFC Championship game. Really good team. But it's not going to feel like it did this year. But they got to pivot back toward the offense and lean into Patrick Mahomes and lean into building an offense that is going to allow Patrick Mahomes to be an MVP candidate because he's got to go back to that because he's making the money. So you got to lean on him, not on the defense right now while you retool this defense. It's going to constantly go back and forth between offense and defense. And this is exactly why Tom Brady had 10 years without a Super Bowl. Because you're building this roster, and then eventually you hit a point where people like Kelsey retire, and it's hard to replace. And then you got to like rebuild the entire infrastructure to be able to give you a chance to win again. But the last thing we got to talk about is Patrick Mahomes versus Tom Brady. Now, I have been on record saying Patrick Mahomes is the greatest quarterback to ever tie up shoes. Yes, he's better than Tom Brady. After the Super Bowl, do I stand on that? I still stand on that. But the reality and the rationale behind it is a little bit more difficult only because Patrick Mahomes obviously lost in the Super Bowl to Brady, but also he was not able to do something yet that Tom Brady was not able to do, which is to get a three-peat. And Mahomes is going to have to rack up some more individual statistics. He's already ahead of Brady in MVPs and Super Bowl MVPs and all those things up to this point in their career. And their 3-2 record in their first 5 Super Bowls is exactly the same. Patrick Mahomes' stats are killing him, except in the Super Bowl. So I still stand behind that, but it is still a little bit of a projection. And it was actually kind of apropos that Tom Brady was calling this game and actually at the game because both of the Super Bowls that Patrick Mahomes lost, one Tom Brady was playing in, the other one Tom Brady was in the announcing booth. So you know what? Tom Brady is sprinkling some magic juju, unlucky, rooting against you dust on Patrick Mahomes because he knows that Patrick Mahomes is the only person that can come against his legacy. He beat him once, and then yet yesterday in the booth felt like one of them Kendrick Lamar smiles, like, "Hey, Jalen, great job, Jalen, great job on the win." And you're like, "Oh yeah, you secretly wanted that man to lose. As much as you are a competitor, and you like to see greatness, you really didn't want Patrick Mahomes to win that Super Bowl. If we're being honest, and it wasn't even in a malicious way. Everybody just kind of protects their own just a little bit. But you guys, though, so much here on Unafraid Show. Make sure that you like, subscribe, get notifications, and tell a friend about the Unafraid Show and hop in them comments. The last thing I want to talk about, though, because I totally forgot when I was talking about Jalen Hurts earlier. That Jordan ad that they did for him about all the naysayers, the people saying that he couldn't do it. Bravo. Nike won with their ads with women, won with their ads with Jalen Hurts. Great job. But you guys, though, Unafraid Show, share. Go share with a friend. Tell a friend about it. Peace out. Catch you guys tomorrow with college football action.